It likes 6S. My hover point is super low. Very nice. This thing's gonna take off like a rocket. I'll get you a weight on how much this is. How you doing, guys? Chris here. Well, I got some new motors in today. These are the AMAX 2305.5, and these are special because these are the lightest motor you can get in this class. I believe they were something along the lines of like 26 grams, and maybe even less when you trim this wire. It's something special. And to compare, I have this 2205.5, and yeah, it's a little bit smaller, but in comparison, that's the closest thing I could find. So we're gonna do a comparison of these two motors and even do a side-by-side test on clearance quad here. I gotta strip these other motors back off, but we'll get that done. And yeah, we'll do a proper comparison, we'll do the weights, and see if this is a motor that's worth getting. So first things first, let's take a look at the motor and see what's in the box. So the motor is, I wouldn't say the smoothest I've ever felt. It's a little notchy, but that air gap is pretty tight. That is pretty good. The wires, they look like 16 gauge wires. I would say it's about 15 centimeters long, but I'll double check that. And, oh, that's weird. Some of them have been pre-tinned and some of them haven't. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, it's fine. All right, what's in the box? The box has 4 of the M3 mounting screws and a prop nut. Let's get the prop nut out of there. Really wants to hold on. There we go. Looks like a lighter prop nut, kind of a squished down one, but it still has the lip. So I bet the aluminum prop nuts I have without the lip weigh a little less. We'll take a look at that as well. And then you have this aluminum tin as well, which is pretty cool for putting parts and whatnot in. So I like that. I wouldn't say they spent a lot of money on that because the motors themselves I think were about $14 or $15 each. So not tremendously expensive. If I take a quick look at this, it looks like it's a Unibel, so that's nice. This is the 1750 kV, so the windings, the wire itself is a little thicker compared to a 4S kV motor. Looks like it has a standard 5mm post, hollow shaft. Now I've heard people say that durability on this motor was sacrificed, so we'll take the bell off and do a pressure test and see if there's something with this durability. But in the end, I'm looking at it, it doesn't feel any different than any other motor. All right, so in comparison to this guy, what is this? This is the Hyperlight, the Pyro Drone version. This is a 2205.5 Team Edition, so that's why I picked it. In comparison, I bet they're pretty close to the same weight. Let's go to get a weight real quick on that. All right, so let's get the scale out here. You guys want to see this? So, with all the wire not trimmed, 26 even, and then with the prop nut, 26.3. It's a pretty light prop nut. And then with 2 motor screws, because that's the bare minimum to mount it, you're looking at 27.5. So that's pretty light considering, you know, most people just weigh the motor, and that's 26 grams even. So let's compare that to the Team Edition Hyperlight motor. This is a little smaller of a motor, and it is 26.9 grams. All right, so I wanted to do a little bit more in-depth comparison of these two motors, just because I was kind of confused why the bigger motor was lighter. So I took them apart, and one of the indicators here was this is an M3 screw. This is belonging to the AMAX motor, but look how small this screw actually is. That is some serious weight savings there. And then this M2 screw actually belongs to the Hyperlight motor, and it is much longer. Is it really an M2 or is it just the 1.5? No, it is not an M2 screw. So it's an M3 screw, but it had the 1.5 driver. So this didn't really like that, but c'est la vie. If this is M3 though, what size is this? Maybe even M4, because it's bigger than this screw, but it's so short. That's crazy. Anyway, enough about the screw. So let's get into the stator height. So I got my measuring tool here, and well, it's supposed to be a 5.5, and to me it's looking like 5 even. And I put this on the edge and just touching, and it looks like 5 even. And then I compare it to the other motor that's supposed to be 5.5, and yeah, I have to lower it a little. You know what? I'm gonna just do side by side so you can really see what I'm talking about here. So I line up the edges here. You can clearly see that the Hyperlight motor is longer ever so slightly. Move my head out of the way so you can see some light. So with that being said, this might be closer to a 2305 as opposed to a 2305.5, and this is probably still a 2205.5. So that's what I think there. That's probably why this is so much lighter, because it's not really a 2305.5. It's probably something closer to a 2305 even. The inside of the motors, looking at the bearing, are about the same size. I can't comment on the quality or the brand. No real markings to speak of. So that's what I noticed. And then there's this raised area on the Hyperlight motor, which is extra metal, and you don't have that same raised area there. So you really got to be cautious about your motor screws being too long, because there's no protecting, there's no extra space between there, so you can definitely touch a winding in there and short out your motor. So be very careful about which screws you use. Okay, let's put that back together and put it on a quad. And as I mentioned before, if you don't double check and triple check, let's see, you can see that motor screw is touching that winding with the motor screws that came with this motor. So you definitely have to double check and triple check that you have the proper length, because damn, that would have sucked. Right? Alright. Alright, well, let me go find some different screws. Anyway, we're all soldered up. I'm gonna test motor direction, make sure that's good to go. Then do a quick hover test. We're gonna run them with the ethics props again. So what is that? That's 5 by 3.7 by 3. It's the lemon line props. All right, so we got motor direction ready to go. I was just about to go give this thing a test hover and start doing a couple of punch outs for you guys so you can see the performance of these motors. And I had a change of heart. So I know I said I was going to pit it up against this 2203.5, but frankly, I don't agree with that decision. After seeing how much it weighed and then looking at the stator height and seeing that it's really closer to a 2305 as opposed to a 2305.5. It's a smaller stator than originally thought. I think it'd be better pitted up against this 2205 just because, you know, the weights are more the same. Obviously the motor volume is going to be closer, so yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take it and we're gonna pit it up against this iFlight 2205. This is actually still a 6S kV at 23 kV, 2300 kV, and it's still 6S. I've flown it before. I'll put a link to the review of this motor. I'll give you a quick weight so you can see exactly what I'm talking about, how close it is to the actual weight of the other motor. So there you go. So 25.4. So much closer in comparison than this was. This was like, what, 1.5 grams more. This is within half a gram of the AMAX motor. These are the AMAX 2305.5s at 1750 kV. I'm gonna run it on 4S first because you know, I want to be able to show you guys some flight footage in case I blow an ESC on 6S. So let's get a quick hover, do a couple of punch outs, and then we'll transition over to 6S. Pretty quiet. Sounds good. This is 4S, so that wasn't even bad. Wasn't bad at all, actually, on 4S. Huh, not bad. All right, I'm actually kind of excited to put on 6S. So here's the AMAX motor flying on 4S on stock PIDs, and it's a little bobbly. It wasn't the best, but you know what? It's a 4S battery. All in all, I was not unimpressed by its performance. This guy here, he was impressed by its performance, and he wanted to check out the quad. I actually thought he was thinking he could fly better than me because he kept challenging me. But after a while, he let up and we moved on with the test. As I continued to fly around and elude my new friend, I have to say, these motors performed fine on 4S. I didn't have any problems at all, you know, getting away, maneuvering, cornering, turning. But then going through all that, being underpowered, yes, it's definitely time for the 6S battery flight. So just so you have something to compare the flights to, this is the 2505 iFlight motor, and I'm going to do a quick little punch out here and then go transition straight into the flight mode. As you can see, the instability and the dipping on one side because this is stock PID, stock rates, so don't judge the motor's overall performance by the jittering of the camera. So what did I think about these motors? I think these were very agile. I think these were very power hungry motors. When I did punch outs, I got up to 40 amps of current draw. That's pretty high for a 2205 motor. But I actually think these motors were intended to be for a Cinewhoop, so performing on a lightweight racing quad, I think they performed pretty well and I was fairly impressed by their performance. Alright, so this is 6S. We're going to do a hover, a punch out, and then we'll do a flight footage. Ooh, It likes 6S. My hover point is super low. Very nice. This thing's gonna take off like a rocket. I'll get you a weight on how much this is. Yeah, that screams. These are good motors. Powerful at least. Let's do that again. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Pretty nice. Like I said, hover point's super low, so I gotta almost drop it down to nothing just to bring it back down. All right, let's go for a flight. This is gonna be fun. So here I'm flying around on 6S, and I have to tell you, I'm kind of enjoying it. It feels light in the air. It feels fast in the air. I don't have any hawks trying to take out the quad, so my attention is on basically just enjoying the flight. Everything I'm doing here is just effortless. As it punches out, climbs easily, it rolls, it spins, it flips. It's great. I look at my current draw, it never got above 24 amps. That's super low for a 6S motor doing 100% punch out. So what do I think about these motors? There are things I like and there are things I don't like. The things I don't like, the windings are very close to the mounting positions, and you could easily touch one of the screws to the windings and short out your motor if you're not careful. What do I like? I like that it's so light that it just screams when you give it a little bit of throttle. I would definitely recommend these on a lightweight frame setup, not necessarily a bando basher. Alright, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.